In this paper, Oliver Schilke and I studied the effect of organizational aggregation structures on individual voting behavior. So we look at different kinds of organizational aggregation structures and then show how those affect the voting by individuals. And we do so using an experiment. The literature we are contributing to is the literature around organizational aggregation structures. There's the famous paper by Sharon Stiglitz, and then in the recent decade, lots of organizational scholars have started really developing this work. For example, there's the 2007 paper by Torbjörn Knudsen and Dan Leventhal. Then there's a more recent paper by Philippe César, where he actually empirically examines how different kinds of organizational structures affect decision making. More recently, I myself, together with my co-authors Vikas Agarwal and Hart Posen, have contributed to this stream of literature where we have shown that organizational aggregation structures do not just shape how information is aggregated, but also what the individuals who share their information actually learn depending on the aggregation structure in which they are embedded. The principle here is very easy. You basically have a group of decision makers who jointly make the decision for the organization. The key thing about it is that organizations have different kind of aggregation rules, and in those aggregation rules, we determine how many yes or no votes we need to approve a project or to stop it. Very often you would see majority rules that you would say out of 5 people, 3 people need to say yes for the organization to approve the project. But in some cases, it's also plausible that you might say as long as one person votes in favor of a project, the organization approves and goes ahead. The question we are examining is what is the effect of increasing the threshold? Obviously, there should be simple and mechanical organizational effect. If you require more yeses, less projects will be approved. This makes a lot of sense and has been shown by prior work. What we are suggesting in this paper and empirically examine is that requiring more yeses to approve a project may also change how individuals vote. Specifically, we are suggesting if you increase the threshold, so you're requiring more yeses, each individual becomes, on average, more likely to say yes to a project. The specific mechanism we are suggesting in the paper is that people put themselves into a pivotal vote scenario and then infer from that. So imagine just one vote is needed, and in that case, the pivotal vote scenario means that the individual thinks, oh, I would be the only one who voted for this. Is it just me? So he or she infers that 4 people must have voted against the project. So he or she probably becomes very skeptical of it. By contrast, if you require, for example, 2 votes, and you put yourself into the pivotal vote scenario, so you realize only because of my vote does this project get improved, you know that at least one other person has voted for it. And so from that scenario, you realize, oh, more people must be on my side. How did we test this idea? We conducted experimental investigation. We created groups of 5 people in an experiment. They had to vote yes or no on 9 different startups. We had online and offline participants. And what we did is that we manipulated aggregation rules. So for example, we said at least 2 people need to approve a project, or it is enough if just one person approves a project. So here's what we found. In the first study, we show, as hypothesized, a higher threshold actually increases people's tendency to say yes. Then we asked the question, how can we turn this effect on and off, looking at the mechanism? And we figured if you give people more information, they are less likely to think about what other things, because they know they have much more information, so they should be able to make that decision on their own. We then could do several robustness checks. We deploy different kind of thresholds, we look at different kind of group sizes, and we also allow for pre-vote deliberation. and the effect generally holds up. We then also do 2 additional studies to tease out the specific mechanism of the pivotal vote scenario in combination with the inferred information more clearly. What is the big takeaway here? Most important, organizational aggregation structures endogenously change individuals' votes. How individuals vote depends on the organizational aggregation structure. And this effect may directly counteract the mechanics of these structures. So if you increase the threshold because you want to lower how many projects you approve, it might be countered by the fact that people become now more likely to vote yes. All this might remind you of the model of Coleman's boat, where he differentiates between macro and micro. You have a change in the voting rule, and of course that has a direct effect on the organizational decision, but it also affects the individual decision making with respect to what kind of information they infer, and thus the individual vote, and that individual vote also affects the organizational decision. Thank you so much for your interest. If you want to see the paper, please don't hesitate, send me an email, and I'm very happy to send it to you. Thank you so much. Bye.